Did you perhaps watch Tokyo Mew Mew when you were growing up? Did you finish it thinking, gosh, I wish there were more, and even more, and even more, and even more? I have good news for you. There is an entire Tokyo Mew Mew universe to be explored. The Tokyo Mew Mew-universe, if you will. The TMMCU. It's a bit of an empire, and I don't think that we talk about it enough. Tokyo Mew Mew has so many spin-offs that are actually pretty vital to the overall experience of the franchise. But were any of them actually good? We got a reboot, we got a couple of video games, we got a gender-swapped manga. Oh yeah. We'll get into it, and you might be shocked about what I have to say. I realized that it was really necessary to display all of the information that I gathered, which is why I'm introducing the pink board. But if we're gonna go about the Tokyo Mew Mew spin-offs, we need to start with the originator. There she is, Miss Mia Ikumi, the mother of Tokyo Mew Mew, the idea generator. The original Tokyo Mew Mew came out as a manga series in the year 2000, was published in Nakayoshi magazine, and also became an anime series in 2002. The manga was also written by Reiko Yoshida, and they worked together to create the original Tokyo Mew Mew. I've done about 2.5 videos on Tokyo Mew Mew already. For a general summary, for those of you who clicked on this and might not know what Tokyo Mew Mew is, it is a magical girl series starring 5 girls who have their DNA fused with those of endangered animals in order to fight aliens who have claimed the earth as their own because they were once natives to the land. The aliens are trying to take over this world by annihilating the humans and trying to start a reset. The Mew Mews are saving the world from the aliens, and so on and so on and so on. But first, let me tell you about this video's sponsor, Squarespace. It's getting to be that time of year, and I know you're starting to think about New Year's resolutions. Maybe you're considering finally putting your artwork online or starting that business you've been putting off. Whatever it may be, Squarespace is the easiest website builder to help you get your feet off the ground. There are tons of website design templates to give your page a clean look, but with innovative design, you can also personalize it to fit your needs. Squarespace also has built-in analytics tools so you can track traffic and better manage SEO on your website, and their simple tools make it easy to set up your shop to sell physical items, digital items, and even services. So if you're looking to take that leap towards the business of your dreams, head to squarespace.com/Doreimani for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, use code Doreimani to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. And thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. In 2002, at the end of 2002, there was a PlayStation 1 game. This was actually the second game to come out for Tokyo Mew Mew at the time, but it is a game of note because it features a new character named Ringo. I love how you can barely see the writing I'm doing. This PlayStation game was developed by Winky Soft. It was published by Takata. Mia Ikumi created the designs that are featured in the PlayStation 1 game. She created the character designs for this new game. She also created the new item names, as well as the names for the new characters, Gato, Mashio, and Ringo. This was the first instance of a new character being introduced in the Tokyo Mew Mew universe, like to be a part of the team. And I mean, the blueprint for new characters or insert characters was already there, just with the format of Tokyo Mew Mew, every girl having their own color as well as their own endangered animal to base themselves off of. Like, fans were already doing this basically, but this was just icing on the cake. In this game, we meet Ringo when the characters go on vacation to the national park, which is called the CNPJ. It stands for Conservation of Nature Park Japan, which is kind of like awkward English. I think it should have been Conservation Nature Park of Japan. But anyway, this island has many RDAs or red data animals, aka endangered species. Mind you, this is a video game, so there is loads of voice acting, but this is a story RPG. So there's still artwork of the characters, little pixelated sprites of all of them. You have to raise the friendship level between each of you and the girls as you're playing Ichigo. Now, my experience watching this was unlike any experience I'd had for any other media on this channel. Like, I'm sitting there, I'm watching the battle gameplay. The game is broken up into 17 parts on YouTube. By the time I got to part 5, I started skipping the battles because I'm like, I'm not sitting here for these battles, I'm here for the story. Also, the battles are so Pokemon. Like, I don't know if there's any other games that have the same sort of format as Pokemon where you're battling in that same way. It's like a turn-based game. But I was sitting watching, I was like, is this
is this okay? Like, do they get in trouble for this? Some of the Kimera anima, which are the animals that have been turned into monsters, even look like Pokemon. The designs, I was like, is this literally not Dratini? I'm like, that's literally Dratini. And I'm watching the player play as Ichigo. Every 10 steps they walk, they get interrupted by a battle to fight off against the Kimera anima. And I'm like, we need repel. Like, this is crazy. We meet Ringo in the woods. Why she's alone in the woods, I don't know. She's never supervised. But she comes to this nature park sometimes because her brother works there as a park ranger. And her best and only friend is the Humboldt penguin named Yuki. Quiche is also here for some reason. He's the one who's turning the red data animals into Kimera anima monsters. I don't know how he got here. It's honestly hard to tell when this takes place in the Mewniverse because this game came out in December 2002. Pie and Tart are not in the story. The Blue Knight keeps appearing, even though Aoyama is not on this island. I'm like, what? Anyway, Quiche is being annoying and rather freaky in this game. He's talking about some, I'll take my time teasing you. Oh my god! I didn't realize how freaky Quiche was until this. Quiche kidnaps Yuki the penguin, and while this penguin is transforming into a monster, Ringo runs and hugs it, and thus transforms into a Mew Mew. Ringo's design is really interesting. She doesn't have any animal appendages like the other girls. Her DNA was also not infused with the Humboldt penguin. Shirogane and Keiichiro reason that it has to do with heart, a phenomenon resulting from the strong shared feelings within the soul or something. A girl, I said, okay, whatever. Also, now that Ringo has transformed, whenever Ichigo fights and battles with Ringo on their team, Ichigo can now transform. She can power up. I did not know that there was a power up in Tokyo Mew Mew. This is the only instance where it happens among the main girls. However, I don't think you can really notice the difference unless you really look at it. Like, if I put a picture up here, I don't think you're going to be able to tell that this is a powered up design. It is very much so spot the difference. Speaking of Shirogane, I've never usually had a problem with Shirogane in any rendition of Tokyo Mew Mew, but he is so annoying here. He is so annoying here. There's an instance when Mashio, who is Ringo's older brother, gets injured, and Shirogane says, we have other better things to worry about than Mashio's injury. Like, okay, and then he ends up using the Mew Aqua to heal Mashio's injury anyway, so that the girls don't have to worry about him being injured. Like, yeah, that's what you should have done in the first place, you dick. Later, at some point, Ringo gets kidnapped by Quiche, and the girls are getting like hyped up to go rescue her. They're like, yeah, we gotta go save Ringo. We're gonna do it together. We're gonna team up and do this. And I'm sitting there because I'm like, just based on Shirogane's attitude throughout this whole game so far at this point, I'm like, here he comes. I just know he's gonna say it. I know he's gonna come in and be some contrarian. Lo and behold, the next line of dialogue, no way. I'm like, what is his problem? Oh my god. And then Shirogane and Keiichiro literally drug the girls that night so they don't go and rescue Ringo. I am not kidding. That is literally what happens. The next morning, the girls are like, you know, I don't remember what happened last night. Last thing I remember is we were sitting and drinking tea, and that was it. Keiichiro and Shirogane are kind of brushing it off like they're not saying anything, while the girls are actively asking questions and being like, hey, did you put something in our tea? And they're literally like pushing it off and brushing it off and talking about, well, what's more important right now is the iceberg that's outside, because that was the layer of the bad guys. Jail! Like, this was insane. I don't know what the heck was going on in the writer's room, but they literally drugged these girls. Oh, I hated it. Gato, who is the other villain, reveals that they want to turn the island into a Kimera anima factory. And at this point, I'm like, yawn, like, okay. But the theme of turning the Earth back into its original state is still present here in this game, as well as the story of the aliens being the natives of the Earth. And the ending of the game is a bit convoluted because Gato is affected by the power of friendship amongst the girls, and Ichigo uses talk no jutsu to convince Gato that being accepted by someone is a wonderful thing. But then he releases the limiters that were on the source Kimura anima anyway, and the island is about to explode, but the girls return these monsters into the soil to prevent that from happening. And Gato says that he was testing the limits of human bonds to once more see the power of believing in friendship. And then he either dies, disappears, or returns to his homeland. It's really unclear. Girl, I don't know. I think the biggest takeaway from this is that Ringo is the cutest patootie there is. I love her. She is kind of the same age as Pudding and is just so cute. I really love her character. Mia Ikumi specifically liked how this came out so much that she wanted to incorporate Ringo into future renditions of Tokyo Mew Mew, the Mewniverse, if you will, which she did manage to do in the continuation of the original series, its sequel, a la mode. I also just realized that I didn't wear this bow. I was gonna wear this bow the entire time when I was talking about Ringo. I forgot. It's okay. It's fine. It's actually fine. Tokyo Mew Mew a la mode is the direct sequel to Tokyo Mew Mew. Its serialization began in Nakiyoshi magazine in April 2003, immediately after the original's end. Lots of us know about this sequel because much like the original, a la mode was published in America. I myself had volume 1 when I was younger. This is not volume 1, this is the omnibus. But I remember picking it up at either my school's Scholastic Book Fair or Barnes & Noble. I can't remember which one, I'm pretty sure it was the book fair. And to a lot of our dismay, it was not animated like the original was. So we only know Barry from manga panels and stills and artwork by Mia Ikumi. A la mode is a very brief 2-volume story. It follows a normal girl named Barry as she accidentally has her genes fused with those of an Amami rabbit and Andean mountain cat. And this is a big deal because it's 2 RDAs. Oh my god, it's unprecedented. The other girls, the other 5 girls, only have their DNA infused with 1 endangered species, but Barry, she got 2. And this itself is kind of a great setup for the many critiques that critics have for a la mode. Much like Ringo, Barry does have her own story going on. She lives with her dad. Her neighbor Tasku is her childhood friend. He's obsessed with her. I actually remember being really annoyed by his character when I was younger, so much so that when I revisited this manga for this video, I was anticipating it being because he's like her stepbrother or something. Like, I thought it was a weird, you know, like I thought it was a weird type of thing like that. Turns out it's not. He's just annoying, which I prefer. I would rather have that. But as opposed to Ringo, Barry does give self-insert character like no other. She's the strongest Mew. She becomes the leader to replace Ichigo while she's away on an abroad trip with Aoyama. The girls change from all of their schools to enroll in Barry's same school for security reasons in case the St. Rose Crusaders attack. Like, I'm sure there were fanfics that were already written like this before this came out, and these are critics' main points, which, like, I don't disagree with, but when you're the target audience, when you're 9 years old and reading this shit hits, okay? This was for the Mary Sues of the world. I loved this manga. What do you mean she has the DNA of both a cat and a bunny? Her design, like, this is the best day of my life. You know what I mean? Like, this was it, okay, for us Mary Sues. The alien conflict was resolved in the original Tokyo Mew Mew. So the new antagonists here are the St. Rose Crusaders. They are a group of misfits who were outcasted for having supernatural powers, and their leader, Duke, who comforts them with the belief that the world is corrupt and they must basically reform it. And so a la mode does have a different message from the conservationist theme that its predecessor has, which is like, this is all fine and dandy, but the first appearance of the mysterious Duke on the page is crazy. Like, when you flip that page, is that no. Is that, when I I bought this omnibus 2 years ago and I read it 2 years ago, I was like, I did not remember that. Oh my god.
The Tokyo Mew Mew wiki does say that this costume is supposed to be depicting a capriote, which is a Christian pointed hat of conical form that is used in Italy, Spain, and Hispanic countries by members of a confraternity of penitents, particularly those of the Catholic Church, and makes sense considering the St. Rose Crusaders name. Girl, I don't know, I'm not Catholic. I also did more research and I found an article about how these are worn during Good Friday parades in Spain. The face is covered because Good Friday parades are all about penitence. Paraders are repenting of their sins and punishing themselves for them. And the idea is that the brotherhoods in the procession are ashamed of their unclean souls and misdeeds, so they hide their faces from the public. I feel like that's explanation enough, but it's still shocking when you turn the whoa, like okay. Moving on. Tasuku and Barry's relationship is very important in a la mode. She starts off pretty annoyed with him and his constant hugging her, crashing into her room, waiting for her to walk them to school. And it all sounds harmless, but he is considerably annoying to her until she starts to develop feelings for him when she realizes that he has always been there for her. He's always been loyal, even after discovering that she's a Mew Mew. He says, "You'll still always be Barry." So Barry's realizing her feelings for Tasuku. At the same time, Tasuku's realizing his feelings for Barry, but he promised himself that he'd always remain as a friend to her and never cross that line after her mom passed away. And you're gonna realize this is a very recurring theme for the introduction of non-Ichigo main protagonists in Tokyo Mew Mew. How else will we accept their presence in the franchise if they don't have this type of backstory? Tasuku ends up being targeted by Duke, using his feelings for Barry against him, and he becomes brainwashed into attacking her. Not only this, but the entire town of Tokyo has been brainwashed into hating Tokyo Mew Mew, thinking that they're the ones who are creating these sudden attacks on the city via subliminal messaging. And they're attacking the Mew Mews, but they're mostly focusing on Barry because Tokyo Mew Mew started to go bad once Barry joined the team. So Barry's really at the center of this whole brigade, which kind of just adds to the to the Mary Sue accusations. Don't hate the player, hate the game, you know? Barry ends up confidently admitting her love for Tasuku, which reverses the effects of the brainwashing, causes a warm light to glow all over the city, and it cures everyone, and is so effective that even Duke reconsiders their St. Rose Crusader plans. And they're admitting their wrong practices and telling their 4 followers, the 4 guys, that they should also bask in this warmth. The story ends with the girls, as well as Tasuku, still working at the Mew Mew Cafe, even if the world is safe, because they can't stop being Mew Mews. They just can't stop. It's a very short, very inconsequential read. It's 2 volumes, 10 chapters. It definitely doesn't add to the core story of Tokyo Mew Mew, but it gives us Barry, which was enough for the fans, including myself. It was yet another story that I anticipated getting animated as a 10-year-old. I mean, how many of you ever Googled a la mode episode 1 English subs? Because I know I did. There is a small bonus story at the end featuring all of the girls as chibis, and they're fixing the Sleeping Beauty book. It's short, but it has all 7 of the girls. So Ringo is in that little story. That's how Ringo got to be incorporated into the manga. There is also a small bonus panel in a couple of the last chapters, and it features some of the criticisms Mia Ikumi faced in the creation of a la mode and Tokyo Mew Mew in general. Questions like, what happened to the aliens planet? Why did some characters get less featured as the story went on? And these are all common complaints that people have when watching or reading this story. The second page of this little bonus story features Mia Ikumi's editor, Masato Sekiya, and she draws him as a little radish guy. Radish editor. Answering those questions, Mr. Radish Editor says, well, none of you are main characters, so who cares? To which all of the characters riot and attack him, with a note at the bottom saying that this story is only slightly fiction. I mean, it does the job of answering some of the questions I had at the end of the series. But the thing is that when you introduce a team of multiple girls who have all these different personalities and different lives, you're going to have people who want to know what happened in their stories, as well as the supporting characters. This is like a whole other thing that we can get into. Anyway, I'm not getting into it. I think the bigger question is whether or not these criticisms were taken seriously in future spin-offs.
Okay, we're jumping from the end of a la mode 2004, jumping to 2019. 15 years after a la mode ended with no new content for anyone to latch on to, things started to ramp up in the Mewniverse for its 20th anniversary. Tokyo Mew Mew 2020 Return was a 2-chapter story created by Miya Ikumi and Reiko Yoshida, celebrating the 20th anniversary. This 2-chapter story had updated designs, artwork that was obviously much different from the original, but still had that Mew Mew look. This actually came out a month after another piece of Mew Mew media that I'm going to be touching on, but I am talking about this one first because it is directly related to a la mode. Return takes place sometime after a la mode, probably like a couple of months later. Aoyama is set to return from his studies abroad in London for a visit. The girls are still saving the day from Chimera and oh my god, I can never say that word. Chimera anima. In this story, they are trying to rescue 6 snow leopards. But after they finish their duties, the report comes out and says that there were 7 snow leopards. Oh my god, what happened to the other one? But it's too late because Ichigo's already gone to meet Aoyama at the airport. And even though their situation is resolved, we do get to see a little bit of the aliens. We get to see Quiche, Pie, and Tart looking dashing as ever in casual wear, might I say. Especially Pie. He looks very stylish. Quiche is talking about eating Ichigo up like a damn meal. He is perpetually horny. Like, a notable part of this franchise is just horniness, and you will come to realize that the more stories you read. The 7th snow leopard is found. It morphs with the train to become a big snow leopard train, and now Ichigo is trying to fight it. Even the aliens are trying to help her. The girls end up finding Ichigo on the train, chasing after the train with her. Ichigo's trying to figure out how to stop this without hurting the leopard or the passengers on the train. Things get so unpredictable that even the blue Knight pops out of Aoyama for a second. He describes it as a flame that has yet to be extinguished, which is like, you need to get that checked out. Ichigo ends up saving the day because we care about animals here, but not before falling into the cold, freezing water under the bridge. And she gets saved due to Aoyama diving in for her and kissing her underwater, and there's like a warmth bubble that encapsulates them. I don't know, girl. But everything's fine at the end. They're partying, they're conversing, they're kissing. The aliens find employment at Cafe Mew Mew because times are tough out here. And it's an overall nice little ending. Return is really like an epilogue story for the original, but still, I wish Ringo were here. I kind of wish Ringo were here. I feel like the opportunity was there. I know she wasn't in the original manga lineup, but I feel like she could have been put in, you know, the 20th anniversary. I'm just saying. And though it is quite short, it was a 2-chapter, 1-shot type of story. It was not the only Mew story to come out of this 20th anniversary celebration. As Kodansha revealed the details for the Tokyo Mew Mew project that was going on, the most shocking announcement to come out of this was probably Olé. Tokyo Mew Mew Olé, a new manga serialization featuring 5 boys who become Mew Mews instead of the 5 girls from the original. This is not a gender bending of the original characters though. These are completely new dudes. These are different guys, different characters, different personalities, different names. Olé on the surface may seem like a random name, but it is a very clever name. It is because ore, that is O-R-E, is a masculine way of saying I in Japanese. Olé is also the Spanish word, and it also sounds like olé, which is when you add milk to a certain dish or beverage in French. I think this is the most clever thing, actually, to come out of the franchise. However, when this was announced, I wasn't there, but I don't know that many people were excited or happy about this. At least not everyone. Of course, there were many people who were excited for it, but not everyone was happy about it. You know, it's a completely new guys. Miya Ikumi isn't the one who's writing or creating it. The new manga artist on this project, her name was Madoka Seizuki. But at the end of every chapter of Olé, there is a message that is written on the bottom. Each chapter ends with, "This story is supervised by Masato Sekiya." Who is Masato Sekiya? Mr. Radish editor. It's all connecting. The dots just connect so well.
Now, before even getting into this, I know what some of you might be thinking. These Tokyo Mew Mew dudes, like, who wants this? Who asked for this? Replacing the characters, for what reason? And I was with you. I was like, come on. I don't know about all this. Another portion of you might be on the expanding brain side of things and thinking about all of the Catboy possibilities. You're also very valid. You are so valid. But I went into this as a hater. Okay, I was like very skeptical. In my defense, the first few chapters were kind of cringe. You know, we're getting our typical character introductions, getting acquainted with the main protagonist, Aoi Shibuya. We also meet Anzu Hinata. She's the female compelling support protagonist. The other 4 guys are introduced one after the other, but the connecting thread between all of them is that they are all hot. Not my words.
It is said so much. Like, I cannot express to you enough how much of a focal point this is in this manga. Like, Anzu's aunt is using this AI bot to help basically in her studies of helping the Mew Mews, which I'm pretty sure Keiichiro never had to use an AI bot, but whatever. Even this bot concludes after 3 of them have been gathered together that the 4th Mew Mew must also be hot. So they go to the hot guy convention where they find none other than, oh, you guessed it, the 4th Mew Mew. Every chapter, at least once, there is a horde of girls fawning over the guys. And I'm not kidding. It is literally at least one time in every chapter. It gets exhausting. The premise of the story is almost exactly like Tokyo Mew Mew in that they're saving the city from Chimera Anima. Oh my god, I can never say that word. Chimera Anima from a new set of villains called the 3 Wise Men from Beyond. Their names are Mocha, Chai, and Latte. I know. And they're trying to appease their ruler, Dark Blue Sama, kind of similar to the Deep Blue Sama from the original. I know. So I was generally going into this, like, we're in the first few chapters, like, this is a joke at this point. And then tell me why. We get to chapter 7, and my hater ass was like, why do I kind of like this? It is with great pride and only a hint of embarrassment that I inform you that I am the target audience of Tokyo Mew Mew Olay. It reached me. It wasn't without cringy moments, and yet through it all, I loved it. I loved the shit out of it. And I need to wax poetic about these boys for a second. So this is Shibuya. He's a very sad boy, you know. He's a hot guy, but he's not very confident in himself. He doesn't have a lot of self-worth. Very, very self-deprecating. But at the same time, he makes a very good leader to the rest of the guys because he's very caring. He cares about others. He cares about Anzu. Next guy. His name is Yoyogi. Yoyogi's he's a smartass, basically. His genes are infused with those of an Amazon river dolphin. Shibuya's are infused with the Iramote cat, same as Ichigo. But this guy's a dolphin, pink dolphin. He's super pink. He's a smartass. He's actually really funny about it. He has his own quips. If you guys have ever watched Haikyuu, he reminds me of Tsukishima. And also he's so funny about it, and he cares about the other guys. There's a situation where all of them get trapped into this desert realm. They need to escape, and Yoyogi creates this water rain shower with the last of his power, refuses to drink any of the water that one of the other boys manages to gather up, and then because he's so stubborn about it, Shibuya feeds him the water using mouth to mouth, and like, there's like some stuff going on between the two of them. Anyway, next guy. This is Kanda. And though I just talked a lot very enthusiastically about Yoyogi, Kanda is actually my favorite. I actually really like Kanda. He's a himbo. I love a good himbo. Oh my god. I love a good himbo. I'm gonna compare him to another Haikyuu character, but he reminds me of Bokuto. I love him. He's so good. He's very, you know, jovial, very excitable. He is like this festival guy. He takes care of all the people in his little town. Oh, it's so cute. And he's also a little bit dumb. So he has the he has the power being merged with a Komodo dragon, and he doesn't know what that is. He always calls it a Kodomo dragon, and it's really funny. I just think he's funny. I really like him. Next guy is Roppongi. Now Roppongi is the guy that I find at the hot guy convention. I keep calling it, but it was an audition. He is in show business. He's a model. He's an actor, idol. I don't know. He's somewhere in show business, but he is very, where Shibuya doesn't really have any confidence. He is the absolute opposite. He is very vain, likes looking in mirrors, likes to check his appearance, but at the same time, he's very caring, and he also has very smart and thoughtful things to say, advices to give to Shibuya or Anzu or anyone when they're asking. And he also has a power-up transformation. He's the only guy that has a power up in this manga, so it makes him very special and very cool. The last and probably most important guy for a good portion of the manga is Hiro. He is the youngest. He is the one that's in middle school. He's a different story from the rest of the guys because he deals with bullying. His story of bullying is very important. Hiro is a very kind boy. He has shrunk himself basically to appease to the bullies who don't want him to show too much of himself or trying to, like just suppress him and his personality. So he basically changes himself and shrinks himself down to please other people, losing sight of himself in the process. So this darkness that he harbors, even though he ends up befriending the rest of the other guys are very sweet to him, there is still this darkness inside of him because of the past bullying experiences that he's had, making him a very compelling and very important character in later chapters within the manga. And I don't have a picture of her, but Anzu is the main female protagonist. She does not have any Mew powers, but she's basically like the one who is really into animals, the one who's really into environmentalism. She knows all about what they're dealing with and is always there to give information. If any of you guys have watched Wonderful Precure, she reminds me of Satoru in that she's there to give the facts of the Chimera anima that they're battling, because she has all this passion inside her, whereas Shibuya doesn't have any passion for anything. He is really inspired by her passion and desire to save the earth. So he starts to develop feelings for her as well as the desire to save the earth and protect people, protect their future. The relationship between him and Anzu is honestly, it's very sweet. It's the main romance in the story. There's a lot of moments between them. Things do get a little spicy at times. Again, this is Tokyo Mew Mew we're talking about. It gets particularly horny. There's a moment when Anzu drinks this beverage. It has silver vine in it, which is kind of similar to catnip, and he is a cat, and it's basically, he's like trying to, oh god, it's I feel like this manga, because its target audience is like a little bit older, they're more forward about the horniness. And though there are moments like this, I do really appreciate that Anzu, her feelings for Shibuya develop pretty slowly. Like, she thinks all of them are hot, but she doesn't have feelings for them necessarily. She doesn't realize her love for Shibuya until like chapter 20. So it develops very naturally and it's very subtle. And there is a bell necklace moment when they're at the top of Tokyo Tower. It's done differently from Aoyama and Ichigo. I think that this version is very cute. For more shockingly insane or cringy moments within Ole, the villains are actually very adamant about protecting Anzu because she must be preserved to be their Mother Earth, to the point where Latte takes this to mean that they must start a new race of species with her, and he asks her clear as day, clear speech to bear his child. I mean, it was the craziest page flip I experienced in this manga. At some point, the boys transfer to Anzu and Shibuya's school on a trial enrollment because Anzu is so into red data animals that the boys are concerned that, you know, she might be freaky enough to be seduced by those aliens. So their plan is to stick to her like glue and seduce her instead. By the way, Shibuya is never into these plans. But again, Anzu is very much so the center of these predicaments. Can you guess if her parents are alive or not. The reveal of who Dark Blue is crazy. I actually don't want to spoil it in this video because for those of you who have not read it, it is actually it was so shocking to me. I was actually like, oh my god, I did not expect that. So I won't spoil it for you. This was another story with conservationist themes, and I almost want to say that it was done. I almost want to say it was done better than the original, but I don't know. I don't know. The big theme here is protecting the earth in your own way. It's something that Anzu says very often because the villains want to save the earth themselves and believe that the human race is getting in the way of that. But Anzu and Shibuya argue that people have the power to change, and they also have the power to change the earth's future. By the time we get to the finale, characters are dying. Swords through stomachs, tentacles through chests. It's getting crazy. There's blood. It's like, this was not in the original story. And Dark Blue is touched when they realize that this world does not abandon humanity. No matter how many times it's hurt by them, it wants to foster new life and keep protecting it. Look, Tokyo Mew Mew stories always get a little convoluted when you get to the finale. And I think it's because it's hard to nicely wrap up a story that is quite reflective of real life problems that haven't been resolved yet. But the glorious fictional Mew Aqua substance is there to brush away those concerns, save the day once more, revive everyone who has died. I would actually argue that I wanted to see more romance in this story because Shibuya and Anzu could have had some really cute coupley moments before this ended. They do get together, so there could have been more cute moments, more dates. Instead, we got actual plot and story. Darn it! Bottom line is I really thought that I was gonna come in here and crack a couple jokes, like make fun of this manga, and then it ended up being like the most fun that I had with a piece of media for this video. I'm still shook, especially when it came to the use of the same story beats that are in Tokyo Mew Mew in this story. I do have reason for accepting it here though, whereas in like my Mermaid Melody video, when I talked about Aqua, the sequel to that series, I hated it. I will explain why. Mermaid Melody Aqua, same set of characters, sequel manga, same story beats. If I wanted to read a story with the same characters and the same story beats, I'd read the original, you know? Like, I don't want to read this in a sequel manga with the same damn characters. Tokyo Mew Mew Olay, new characters, spin-off manga, same story beats, but those story beats are there to keep familiarity, to let you know that outside of its shared name, they are related because of this shared environmentalist message. And it has a lot of similarities, but also many differences. Anyway, I don't think anyone's gonna argue with me on that, but I think I'm valid. I loved Olay. I'm so sorry. Like, I really thought I was gonna hate it, but I loved it. You should read it. The only thing available for it right now are fan translations, but I actually need this animated. Another announcement to round off the late 2019, early 2020 Tokyo Mew Mew celebration was the announcement of a new anime. A reboot. The Reboot. Auditions for the idol group that would help to promote the Reboot anime were held within Q2 of that same year for the idol group called Smoothie. That is Smoothie with a Mew. Smoothie. Now you may be thinking, idol group, what the heck? That's so random. We've never, like, this hasn't come up at all. And looking at Tokyo Mew Mew's history at first, at a glance, I thought the same thing. Like, I wonder why they chose to do an idol group in this reboot. But when you do some further digging, it's actually not random because a group called Mew 5 existed in the early 2000s to help with the same purpose of promoting the original manga and anime, which I thought was so interesting. I had no idea about Mew 5. The difference with the idol group Smoothie was that these 5 members would voice the 5 characters, same 5 characters that they are representing in the anime. Smoothie began their activities in 2021, while the reboot Tokyo Mew Mew New began in 2022. Now, the sad part about this is that Mia Ikumi sadly passed away in March of 2022 from heart failure due to a previously diagnosed subarachnoid hemorrhage, and this was before she could see the completed result of the reboot. She did play a part in the character designs and basically oversaw and approved of many elements of the anime while it was still in development, but New was ultimately written and directed by different people. It was written by Yuka Yamada and directed by Takahiro Notori. Now, the cool thing about when we get to the reboot is that I was there. Like, I watched it as it was airing. I was so excited. I remember it was like 2-3 years of me getting back into anime. A magical girl franchise from my childhood was announced to have a reboot. Like, I was excited. I had my little High Dive subscription because that's where this was streaming, on High Dive of all places. But you know, I was like super excited to support this reboot anime for a magical girl franchise in any way that I could. But oddly, it feels like this reboot was something that kind of left as soon as it came. It didn't blow up. And I think to this day, there are people who know the original who don't know that there was a reboot, and it might be for a variety of reasons. So the reboot was broken into 2 seasons. It ran in 12 episode cycles, 24 episodes total, while the original was a 52 episode anime. This reboot basically condensed 52 episodes of content into 24. Stories were cut. Stories were overlapping. There was a lot of mess, for lack of a better word, going on in the first season of New. In the original, Ichigo turns into a cat like a couple episodes after Aoyama and her have confessed their love to each other, whereas in the new reboot, she turns into a cat in the midst of the season 1 finale. Like, the world is ending basically, and she turns into a cat. It's like, is this really the right time for this to be happening? Putting her best episode, episode 20, albeit it's not canon to the manga, though it is her best episode, is cut from season 1 of New. Now we do get a really good pudding episode in season 2 of New. Features her and her siblings. There's a really sweet moment where her mom's spirit helps her to grab the trapeze bar. Oh, it's honestly, it's probably like the best episode of the reboot for me. But as a pudding stan, watching this in full time, especially season 1, it felt like her character got shafted. It was like, wait, they didn't have that. They didn't have her story with her siblings. Her introductory episode was also lumped into the same episode where Aoyama gives Ichigo the bell necklace and calls her his little kitty. And mind you, this is episode 3. Like, the pacing is crazy at this point. Other changes include slight alterations to the wardrobes, which I sort of didn't like at the time, but now I realize that they took designs pretty much exactly from Return. So this is where Mia Ikumi's input was taken into account for New. I do still prefer the leotards that like characters like Mint and Pudding had in the original, whereas they have these weird dress forms for their outfits in New and Return. I don't really like those. I don't love Zakuro's ponytail that she now has, but honestly, we have bigger fish to fry. The de-yasification of Shirogane, it's lethal. His bra straps, gone. Fitted tank, gone. Blasphemy. I do think that the design that Shirogane has for his outfit in New is taken either from A La Mode or from Return. I don't remember which one. Like, I think it's actually an outfit he had, but it's not better than the original little off the shoulder. Come on. Just a big loss to the community. Mint has a very haughty, very pompous personality in the original, which is toned down so much so it goes from a 10 to a 2 in New, and she actually plays a bigger role in this story, which I kind of like actually. In New, she's already been recruited by Shirogane and Keiichiro for the Mew project, and she's the one who's gathering Ichigo and the other girls together. Aoyama, who I've always quite liked as a character, I do not like him in New. I don't know. Something weird is going on in New. His personality, he's a little bit more possessive and he's a little bit more aggressive about it. It feels like it's more enhanced in the reboot. And when there's fewer episodes to work with here, it just feels like man, why are you, like, you don't even know her like that. Like, where is this coming from? I also feel like Zakuro and Mint as a pair are not as tragic Yuri as they were in the original. There are still some moments between them. Mint is still Zakuro's super fan. We still get the episode where Zakuro is refusing to join the team. And this actually becomes a great episode between the two of them, where Mint is wanting to prove herself and prove her strength and wanting to become a reliable person to the people around her. And then Zakuro is singing while Mint is fighting the Chimera anima. It's like, it's a really cool moment. But yeah, this Zakuro is way more idol heavy than she ever was in the past. Before, she was like an actress, she was a model. And this one, it's way more Zakuro idol than the OG ever was. But we gotta promote that OST, babes. Quiche, as a character, he's just not the same in this version. I don't know. Like, as a born again Quiche stan, I found that the reboot Quiche lacked the chutzpah of the original. His desire to protect Ichigo was so real and so developed in a sort of genuine way. While here, it feels like there's no reason to his rhyme. He's horny, but why is he horny? I just can't explain it. The glimmer in his eyes is lost. Something's off. Also, not to mention the obvious differences in their animated transformations. The OGs really have these iconic choreo and iconic tracks to them, which are kind of lost here for something that's newer and a bit more unified. Like, for example, how the original has Lettuce and her Spanish-influenced music. That's all gone here, that type of individuality. And like, don't get me wrong, I love your work, Takanashi. He is the composer of this reboot of Tokyo Mew Mew New. He did the music for Heartcatch Precure. He did an entire definitive era of Precure. Like, when I hear his compositions, I'm thinking, oh my god, that's Heartcatch, that's Sweet, that's Smile. Like, he literally created this like definitive era sonically of Precure for me. But I think that's actually part of the problem here, is that it just feels it feels more Precure than it does Tokyo Mew Mew. Anyway, this all leads into a season 1 finale where instead of Ichigo, Mint is the one who locates the Mew Aqua. And she uses the Mew Aqua rod to cleanse Tokyo from this disaster, leading into Ichigo's running towards a patient Aoyama waiting at the train station, where they confess their love to each other. This will always be my favorite scene in this series, honestly. I do prefer, I hate to be that person, I do prefer the original here, but the reboot did do a great thing of having a newly recorded version of the original opening, My Sweetheart, playing in the background as this scene is going on. Easter egg for the original fans. They knew how good that song was, they had to put it in there. By the end of season 1, I did feel like a little bit disappointed, and that feeling didn't change when I rewatched it for this video. And then when season 2 came out the next year in April of 2023, I did end up dropping the series after episode 2, so I never actually finished New until recently for this video. In rewatching the beginning of season 2, I was able to understand why I dropped it, because this second episode is the worst episode in the entire series. I hate it. It's this concept of Mint wanting to create a generator to help families and create less energy, conserve the energy in all of Tokyo, wants the help of her brother and his tools, but he won't let her. So she recruits her friends in theft and stealing her brother's machinery in order to create these windmill machines. And then these machines turn out to be strengthening the power of the Chimera anima that they're trying to fight in this episode. And then the girls are like, no, Mint, don't destroy the machine. We worked so hard. You worked so hard on it. Like, she doesn't have the various resources to make another machine, and yet make a machine that doesn't power up their literal enemy. Just an annoying episode. I don't know. But what's really crazy is how the story gets so much better right after I dropped it. Like, we still get that aforementioned pudding episode. It's great. But then we get a literal aliens being natives to the Earth 300 million years ago flashback. With Lettuce accidentally time traveling back in time and meeting a girl who is against the migration of the aliens to another planet amidst the impending destruction of the Earth. And her potential love interest is planning to migrate in just a day. And Lettuce convinces her to confess her love to him before he goes. And oh my god, it's such a humanizing episode. I loved this. This added lore, added story to the aliens. This was awesome. Like, that's what I've been wanting. They continue finding Mew Aqua throughout the season, and each of the girls have their own Mew Aqua Rod moment where they cleanse the town instead of it just being Ichigo's rod. It feels like all of the girls have importance to the story rather than it just being Ichigo-centric. And Ichigo in general seems more concerned about the Earth in this reboot. Not that she wasn't in the original, but it just seems a bit more intentional here in that she dwells on the future of the Earth more and what she'd like to see and who she'd like to be as a person who can help in the future. It just seems a bit more thoughtful. We get Kishi's pathetic tears in episode 8 of season 2. Just gorgeous. Peak cinema. I can't understand why I'm affected by this now. And they really give the series finale the time that it needs here. It might be a bit too much time, like it's 4 entire episodes focusing on this, but they are very epic and very dramatic. There's this scene where Ichigo is shocked that Aoyama, or the Blue Knight, turns out to be Deep Blue. But when the other girls try to attack him, Ichigo steps in and attacks them back in a reflexive effort to protect Aoyama. It's like, oh my god, this is messed up. This is great. It's very dramatic, but it's honestly kind of cool to see this imperfect version of Ichigo. Even if they forgive her all too quickly. We only got so many episodes to work with here. The concept of the finale remains the same with some notable changes. The girls gain wings and fly to the final battleground. That wasn't in the original. Kish dying is still the same. He's just a bit hornier about it. How can one be horny in death? Where there's a will, there's a way. The final Mew Aqua is still located within Deep Blue, but right as Ichigo and Aoyama are using their Talk no Jutsu on him, Pai stabs him. What? Then a portal opens between the Earth and the aliens planet. Ichigo and Aoyama use the final Mew Aqua to purify the portal. There's a lot going on. It's just not a Tokyo Mew Mew finale if you're not a little bit confused. Anyway, the point is Ichigo does not have to die and be brought back to life in this rendition. That is a story that is present in both the original anime and manga. Pai, even though he now accepts that their alien planet has this lush greenery and water because of that purified Mew Aqua portal, as a character, he's kind of tainted in an unfortunate way because he freaking killed the main baddie right as he was turning good. I feel like Pai got the short end of the stick here. I will say, it made sense how Aoyama was brought back to life in the original when Ichigo gave him her life, and then he was able to revive her with the Mew Aqua that was still in his body by kissing her. But in the reboot, with Aoyama being dead, a single tear that falls onto the bell necklace is what rings and brings him, like, okay. Like, I'm not opposed to the tears bringing someone back to life trope, but I just feel like it made more sense narratively in the original. Like, all right, pack it up. But here, I like how Ichigo's resolve is to want to help the Earth and be an ambassador for the aliens. I love this. I really like this. It almost feels like a nod to the Olay ending, where international organizations formed an alliance with the aliens to restore the planets. Like, aw. I like that. I like that. All in all, New is not perfect, but it actively tried to fix some of the criticisms and complaints that the original Tokyo Mew Mew did receive. The ones that Mr. Radish editor was attacked over. And I don't know if I'd say that it's something that you can watch instead of the original, like to supplement it. But all things considered, it's a pretty good reboot. I was surprised to finish it and glad to see it. And that is all of the Tokyo Mew Mew universe for now.
Tell me which one of these you think deserves more attention.
Why wasn't Ringo in return? Should a la mode have gotten animated? Should Olay get animated? Did you watch the reboot Tokyo Mew Mew New? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Let me know. Reminder, I have a Patreon where we are currently rewatching Sailor Moon and making dishes with potatoes in them for November.
You can follow the links to my socials in the description, but that is all I have for today. I thank you for watching. I thank you for being here, and I will see you in my dreams. Bye, friend.